Every word you speak is built on top of a ruin. Excavating the etymology of everyday language unearths the physical realities of collapsed prehistoric societies. The ancient Arabic name Aisha provides a clear entry point. Tracing this word back to its absolute origin reveals a root verb translating literally to giving life or to nurse. This specific definition operates as a linguistic fossil. It serves as evidence of an early era where society was organized around the biological and agricultural output of women. Language functions as a geological record, preserving the exact history of a massive socio-economic collapse. Analyzing this collapse requires a specific analytical tool, dialectical materialism. This method of historical analysis argues that all human thought, culture, and language are direct reflections of physical economic reality. Using this framework, we can see that the invention of private property systematically destroyed humanity's original matriarchal system. The introduction of property triggered a violent, structural mass event recognized in historical materialism as the Great Overthrow. By applying the 4 laws of dialectical materialism, we can reverse engineer the exact mechanics of this event, tracking how the seizure of material reality necessitated a total rewrite of human language. The first law of our framework dictates that human consciousness, mythology, and language do not invent themselves in a vacuum. This is the law of materialism. It states that human thought is a downstream reflection of material, economic reality. Whoever controls the production of resources controls the ideas of the society. In the earliest eras of human history, women were the sole producers of human life, sustaining the group's survival through breastfeeding and early childcare. Archaeological evidence also points to women as the primary discoverers of agriculture, humanity's very first material economic activity. Because material survival relied directly on female biological and agricultural output, the economic base built a corresponding cultural superstructure. In ancient mythology, because this foundational base was entirely feminine, the heavens, earth, and deities were structurally coded as female. The physical matter of the womb and the soil shaped the ideas of the mind. Early human thought was dictated strictly by the agricultural and biological monopoly held by women. But material conditions change. This brings us to the second dialectical law, the law of the unity and conflict of opposites. This law isolates the mathematical trigger for societal destabilization. This diagram maps the structural conflict. The left female vector represents mother lineage inheritance. Pushing against this is the emerging male vector, driven by animal arnim and hunting. The invention of private property locks into the male vector, immediately overpowering the existing balance. This tension was not driven by interpersonal animosity or basic gender rivalry. The contradiction was an unavoidable systemic war for absolute sovereignty over human resources. The male objective was specific: to possess the physical land, the matter, and to fully control the children, establishing male lineage. The invention of property created an irreconcilable structural contradiction that made the mother lineage system unsustainable. To understand the moment of collapse, we apply the third dialectical law, the transformation from quantitative to qualitative change. This graph tracks quantitative change, the slow generational hoarding of male-controlled assets. Over centuries, material wealth, tools, weapons, livestock, accumulates on the male ledger. Eventually, this mass reaches a critical threshold where the matriarchal framework can no longer contain it. This is a qualitative shift. The accumulated structural weight violently shatters the existing social order. There is no warning. There is no gradual transition. This exact point of rupture is the structural counter-revolution we call the Great Overthrow. The transition to patriarchy is frequently mischaracterized as a gradual cultural drift where societies slowly changed their minds. In reality, the shift from a feminine to a masculine society was a sudden, mathematically inevitable structural collapse. Once the physical takeover was complete, the final dialectical law took effect, the law of the negation of the negation. This explains how the new power structure engineered modern language. The first negation was physical. The victorious patriarchal society abolished the matriarchal society, seizing the land and the lineage. The second negation was the active rewriting of the linguistic superstructure to erase the Old World. Ancient terms were redefined. The central definition of abidity was forcefully flipped from female to male, and earth was permanently rewired to mean property. This comprehensive linguistic erasure was an absolute necessity. If the new male-dominated material reality was to survive, the language used to describe reality had to justify their ownership. The modern dictionary documents a successfully executed ideological overwrite. The words we use today are an invisible historical battleground. Despite the violent nature of the patriarchal overwrite, the erasure of the past was incomplete. This brings us back to our linguistic fossil. Fragments of the buried matriarchal stratum pushed through microscopic fissures in the new language, surviving the millennia to reach us in modernity. The etymological root of the name Aisha, the action to give life, remains intact. It stands as a silent witness to the era before the overthrow. To speak a modern language is to silently echo the forgotten casualties of a prehistoric, material human war.